So the Warriors allegedly didn't want to use their assets and push the chips to the middle of the table and say F them picks like the Los Angeles Rams did. And Curry said they didn't want to do it. They were cool with the two eras. Then the two eras failed. And now they were saying the same thing. They didn't want to push the chips in the middle because they were able to win a championship without doing that. But it seems like they're probably going to have to push the chips in the middle of the table. And the thing is that you can get Vucevic, who's a guaranteed 20-point per game scorer, who's going to help the 14th ranked 3-point percentage squad, get lifted up. This Vooch is averaging just under 20 points. His field goal percentage is 54%, 6th best in the NBA. His 3-point percentage, 14th best in the NBA at 39%. He's grabbing 10 rebounds a game, 8th best in the league. 3.4 assists, 0.9 steals, and 0.7 blocks, while the Warriors are the 17th worst scoring team, 6th worst field goal percentage, 14th worst 3-point percentage. Yeah, they're actually the 7th best rebounding team and the 5th best passing team. And getting Nikola Vucevic would be a skilled big man who would allow them to score inside and out, have more size, allow them to play off of Draymond Green or Trace Jackson Davis, especially in the front court, giving them more scoring ability, more floor spacing, and rebounding, as he really would be a great fit for the Golden State Warriors. Now, the interesting part in all of this is that Mr. Zach LaVine is somebody they're also interested in, and the same people in the front office who are saying, oh, we should go for Jimmy Butler, are saying, hey, you know what, Zach LaVine might be the better option. He's younger, more durable, and he, at this point of his career, he's a better shooter, a better scorer, and he's a perfect fit for our system here. While Jimmy Butler, is a better defender and leader and has the ability to raise people, I think LaVine's scoring, shot creation, and age and playmaking makes him the safer long-term investment for the Golden State Warriors. Plus, he's cheaper. So to me, when you look at a guy like that, who's really just a one-track mind offensively, yes, he can pass the ball. He's just under 5 assists a night, but it's going to make your team smaller and more defensively flawed. Because at least Vooch is 7 foot. So yeah, he's not a great defender, but he's just going to take up space, which is nice. So I think that's one thing people don't really talk about enough, is just having someone take up space is usually huge. So that's where I think the biggest thing is, just when you see something like that. And yeah, so that's where I think with the whole Golden State Warriors news, it's definitely interesting to see that they have players available to them, but they're really just wanting to sweet pace it out. And I don't think that's the right way to go about it, because of you don't have time to do that. And the NBA today is just a non-stop beast. So if you're really trying to stick around, you gotta go. Yo, what's going on, guys? And today, coming from the Chicago Sun-Times, is a report that outside of Vucevic is that the Bulls are having a fire sale. And Joe Cowley says that Vucevic isn't entirely untouchable, but that the Bulls are willing to part with anyone on the roster if they felt it would make the Bulls a better product long term and help them keep their 2025 top 10 protected draft pick. A source reiterated that Karnisovas has come down on what the team felt were unrealistic asks from earlier in the season, but still doesn't want to just give away guys, which is interesting in itself. So I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. We knew that going into the season, they were looking to trade Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. I think Zach LaVine has done a good job of rebuilding his value in comparison to where it was to start the season. So has Vuce. Vuce is shooting 55% from the field, 40% from 3, 10 rebounds a night, just under a block and steal a game, 3.5 assists, 20 points. And I think I've said it before, a lot of teams who are looking for somebody in the $20 million range to be a sharpshooter and a 20-point per game scorer, I don't think there's a better option outside of obviously Cam Johnson, but that is going to be available, is Nikola Vucevic. But the Chicago Bulls are a team that have signaled this season its willingness to explore old trades. And why not? As I've said before, this team has not rebuilt truly in what seems like forever. And currently in the season, they are a team that is in a situation that is eerily similar to where the Washington Wizards were before they fully dove in, and it seems like they're just trying to build from the middle. They're 19-27, they're 10th in the Eastern Conference, and Vooch is averaging 24 points a night. You got almost 7 assists a game from Josh Giddey. This is a team that's actually top 10. It's 8th in points per game, 5th in rebounds, 6th in assists. They're putting up the second most 3-point attempts and making the third most, while being the 9th most efficient team at shooting threes, while being a team that is really just holistically from their 3-point shooting and their field goal their offense really is in the better half of the league. So it's just interesting to see how the team currently ranks amongst everybody else, even though they are seemingly retooling. So let's just talk about who should be traded and why. I think obviously Vooch and Zach LaVine, let's just pull the plug on those, because it feels like forever that they've been having those guys, and the longer you keep them on the roster at this point, the more the value deteriorates. And LaVine next year will be a guy who will have a player option left, and people are suggesting that if he continues to play like this, he might decline the player option because he could actually get more money in free agency. Vooch becomes an expiring. Lonzo Ball, it was reported at the beginning of the year that if they didn't trade him, he was going to get bought out. Now, to me, Kobe White is another guy who becomes an expiring after this season. So I think he's a player that probably peak value at this point. So having him available for trade would be huge, because I think you could get a first round pick for him. I think same goes, Jalen Smith has another year on his deal, but if there are teams just trying to make money moves where they're trying to do some salary cap gymnastics, and they say, hey, we'll give you a big who's making double what Jalen's making, but we'll give you draft capital as a trade sweetener. I think that's something that could happen. I know a lot of people want to move on from Patrick Williams, and it seems like that would be the best action for everybody involved, but he has like 3, almost 4 years left if he were to accept that player option in the 28-29 season, meaning he's a guy that could be a reclamation project. But outside of that, if you don't believe Ayo DeSumo is going to be part of the future, he becomes an expiring after this season. That's someone you should think about. Javon Carter has a player option that he's definitely going to pick up, but he's somebody that contending teams who remember what he was doing with the Milwaukee Bucks would enjoy him. I think the ship has sailed on Chris Duarte. Buy him out, use salary dump him, whatever. Try to figure out what do you have in Dalen Terry. Contending teams will give you a second round pick at least for Torrey Craig. Taylor Horton Tucker and Julian Phillips was kind of like roster filler. But outside of that, yeah, I think now Josh Giddey and Matas are both very interesting players, as I think when you look at the team who are trying to basically be more proactive in their approach, as I think they're showing a desire to more than likely just be better. And again, as you guys saw in the beginning of the video, we remember at the beginning of the year that they were going to explore trades for both LaVine and Vooch later in the season. And we showed you in the beginning of the video that the recent report from Cali saying is that they're looking at everybody. And I would not be surprised if they just want expiring contracts and young players with draft picks. This way, they'll look for teams that want the scoring punch that Zach LaVine and Vooch could provide. For me, if Billy Donovan really is part of the future, because I don't know if he is, but they want guys who are going to be unselfish and fit into this rebuild, kind of what the Nets are doing. But I'm not saying that they're building around Buzelis, because I don't think Buzelis is that guy you build around, but I think the draft pick situation moving forward is kind of playing a significant role in their long-term vision of this team, as that 2025 top 10 protected pick is huge, as they're hoping to acquire a high impact player through the draft. To me, I think these coming weeks will be interesting to see, because the Bulls have multiple players either on expiring, or like Josh Giddey technically isn't expiring, but you get his restricted free agency. Same thing with Chris Duarte, or you get guys like Javon Carter who's on a player contract, or the Kobe Whites who next year becomes an expiring. Same thing goes with Vooch, Dalen Terry, and you have expirings like Torrey Craig who people would be interested in. I think Lonzo is just a straight up buy out, because at that point, who's really gonna give you Mr. Lonzo Ball as a salary dump? Like, it would really have to be a salary. Either way, if he gets salary dump, I think he's a guy that's also just going to go ahead and get bought out. So that's where I'm at with him. I think he's just going to end up either in Charlotte with his brother, or with a contender, or in Los Angeles, either on the Lakers or the Clippers. So that one I think is rather more than obvious, because it just makes too much sense for him to be someone who's interested in rebuilding his value before going to free agency and playing on a team in games that matter. So that's mine right there. For you guys, what do you guys expect the Bulls to do? I know they never make trades. So that is the other thing. If they finally do make a trade, this will be a shocker for a lot of us, as it feels like in the last 5 years, this is a team that honestly tries to be as reluctant and hesitant as possible when it comes to the trade market, because it feels like as if their belief system makes them have the idea or the illusion that they're good at development or continuities, what's going to work for them. Clearly, this is a team that needs to figure it out, because I don't know. It just feels like they're just wading in the water. It's the rule of insanity, doing the same things and expecting different results.